Good evening and welcome to this regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth. Our meeting date is Monday, May 1st, 2023. I'm Mayor Todd Kiesenberg and I'll call this meeting to order. I ask the clerk to note our starting time for the minutes, 7:02 p.m. A warm welcome is extended to councillors, staff, and any delegations who will participate in this meeting, regardless of whether being physically in attendance in the council chamber in Listowel or being connected through web technologies. We'll note that all councillors are in their chairs this evening, and Deputy Mayor Callum has good reason to be dressed appropriately tonight. The first time, I think, in his entire political career that they've made it past the first round. So go Leafs, go. All right, we begin tonight's meeting with the playing of O Canada. Those in chambers as able are invited to stand. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe peoples. We wish to recognize the long history of Indigenous peoples in Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of the land. May we all live with respect on this land and live in peace and friendship. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth YouTube channel and will be available there after this meeting as an archived video. To those viewing the meeting via the YouTube channel, a warm welcome to you. To those present in the gallery today by attending a public meeting of the Council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances when deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and or unacceptable behavior and or comments. Thank you. At this time, I invite decorum over the course of the coming meeting. As you heard earlier, we are all in the chamber. All of council is in the chamber in Listowel. We do have something special tonight. And again, as we began with these last week for the first time during the pandemic period, or after the pandemic period, sorry, it's our pleasure to have some interesting community business to do. So I'm going to come forward into the chamber and we'll carry out this business. I want to make sure I have the right camera setting. There we go. Well, this evening, we get to honor one of our Celebrate North Perth Inspiration Award winners. Mary Bell Dittmer was absent on the evening that we had our Celebrate North Perth Volunteer Appreciation Night, but she has returned from her travels, and we're glad that she's done so safely because there's so much for you to do. And we're glad to recognize you in Council Chambers tonight. Mary Bell has been a long-time resident of North Perth. She resided in Moncton, in the Moncton area, prior to relocating to Listowel in 2004 with her husband and 5 children, including, astonishingly to me, a set of triplets. She was employed at an independent senior living residence for 24 years as the food supervisor responsible for cooking for the residents. Although she retired in 2017, Mary Bell offered additional help and was instrumental in keeping the kitchen service open during the COVID-19 pandemic. Since her retirement, she has joined the board of directors for Maitland Terrace and has served on the admissions committee. She assists with fire drills and was a key person in the organizing and executing of the recent 35th anniversary celebration, which I was in attendance at. Mary Bell has also been a volunteer with the VON since 2006, delivering Meals on Wheels, assisting with a congregate dining program, while also volunteering in the office. Mary Bell joined the Listowel Agricultural Society Board of Directors in 2017 and has since been heavily involved. She co-chairs the Catering Committee and sits on the Culinary Arts Committee. When fair time rolls around, she caters the event, sits on the Church Service Committee and the Homecraft Committee. She is also a certified judge and attends other fairs judging their events. Mary Bell believes it is important to give back to community, and she has not slowed down during her retirement. What began as a desire for something to do has continued as a strong passion for helping others out as she lives by her own motto of giving from the heart. Thank you, Mary Bell, for your sustained and ongoing service in our community. We're glad to present this award to you tonight. Please come forward. Can we give you a little guess?
Thank you.
And And I think there's an opportunity if you'd like to say a few words. Let's have you do that. I'll just hold the microphone for you.
Thank you to the municipality for this recognition, and thank you to my nominator. Um, when you read it, Todd, Mayor Todd, it really humbles me. And as you said, I do it because I want to do it. Very proud to live in North Perth, and I thank each and every one of you around the council chambers for your contributions.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Normally, we would have councillors walking the gauntlet to give you a handshake, but perhaps tonight we'll just keep it simple, if that's all right. And councillors, I encourage you to speak to Mary Bell in the community at your leisure. All right. Well, that was a pleasure. Thank you. Let's move forward then with item 2.1 of our agenda pertaining to pecuniary interest. For the benefit of those unfamiliar with our council practices, provincial legislation requires councillors with a potential pecuniary or financial interest in any item at the council table to declare this interest and to remove her or himself from discussions and voting on the item. In accordance with recommended protocol at this time, I invite all councillors with a perceived pecuniary interest, including those who have declared in writing already, to verbally advise the chair in public session, and, if necessary, to submit documentation to this effect in writing to the clerk. Councillors are further reminded that should a potential conflict arise during the meeting, they may so declare and act at any point in the meeting. Colleagues, any of you wishing to make a declaration this evening? I am not seeing any indication of that. First, a few of the simple ground rules. All participants are invited to speak when called upon by yours truly, serving as chair. Those participating remotely who wish to speak may draw the attention of the clerk through our web conferencing technology's text chat function. Remote participants are asked to generally maintain a mute state in the web conference until I recognize your right to the floor. If when I do so recognize I don't hear you because you are muted or are having technical difficulty, I will advise and send Simon tonight to your rescue. Let us now put a focus on the people's business. That includes putting away or silencing our phones in the chamber, and I invite continuing decorum. Before I jump ahead to the acknowledgement of the agenda, I was advised before this meeting, and it was a pleasure to hear it, that this week is International Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week. And so our council should celebrate with our two clerks who are sitting with us tonight and acknowledge all of their efforts, I think in the usual way. We are grateful for their service, and they make our meetings run quite smoothly. All right, let's turn to agenda item 2.2. I have a motion before me for the adoption of the agenda for tonight's meeting that reads as follows: that the agenda for tonight's meeting be approved. Can I call for a mover?
Mr. Mayor, I would actually like.
Let's get the microphone.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Good. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would actually like to propose an amendment to the closed session agenda for a matter pertaining to North Perth staff.
Okay. Clerk Klein, do you have any concerns about this at this point?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, my only concern is that we didn't give public notice of that item. Generally, we put the item on the agenda, we give the reason for moving into closed and then the subject matter. So I would only, advise that if council wishes to move into closed for an additional item, we give a little bit more detail about what the topic is for that item.
Okay. Let me turn to Councillor Blazek. Is this something that could be dealt with at our next meeting and you wish to serve notice of motion, or do you feel it's quite urgent for us to address this tonight?
I feel as though I'm struggling to give more detail without discussing matters that need to be private. I suppose we could put it off for a week. I struggle with that, but we can.
Okay. So Councillor Blazek's preference is that we add this to the agenda this evening. You've mentioned that the reason or the purpose for going into that closed session is that it relates to staff. Is that?
Yeah, and
matter relating to staff? That's one of the common uses in the Municipal Act for entering closed session. I'm just going to check with Clerk Klein to make sure that we have a reasonable information there on our basis for that.
Through Mr. Mayor, we could, we could amend the resolution when we move into closed. We could add the additional clause from the Municipal Act that's related to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. So that's section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act. And then the subject matter would just be North Perth staff, if that's as much detail as council is agreeable to.
Okay, so there's a course of action that would allow us to achieve this tonight then. I think the question certainly is then that we will have to amend the resolution that allows us to enter closed session a little bit later. And you're proposing that we amend the agenda to add that third item to our closed session meeting. Is there someone who will second this on this matter? Okay, Councillor Johnston will second this. So this is an amendment on the floor that adjusts the primary resolution. I don't know if did I call for a mover and a seconder yet? Not yet, right? Okay, so Todd's a little backwards. Let's call for a mover and seconder on the main motion first, I think, unless we want to just proceed to say as amended.
Correct, yeah.
All right, let's do that then. We'll just add the words as amended. So the primary motion is that the agenda for tonight's meeting be approved as amended. And I think what we'll do is we'll consider Councillor Blazek as our mover for this tonight. Councillor Johnson is our seconder with his consent. All right, any discussion or debate? Seeing none, if the clerk's table is ready, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. All right, so we'll make the appropriate amendments. I'll ask the clerk to prepare over the course of the meeting the appropriate amendment to the resolution under section 11 of our agenda. All right, thank you. Let's move forward then to item 3 on our agenda. This is the so-called consent agenda. Consent items are placed on our agenda because they are believed to be non-contentious, yet they may warrant council's recognition and action. Grouping them expedites our business. However, any councillor wishing to extract an item from the consent agenda for discussion, debate, and individual action may do so. Tonight we have 11 items on our consent agenda, including the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Councillors, anything to extract here or any corrections to the minutes? Councillor Richardson, let me find your mic. There we go.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Todd, I'd like to pull 3.11 for discussion.
Okay.
Correspondence from Don Martin.
Okay. All right. Anyone else wishing to make a poll? Councillor Duncan?
3.5, please, from the Township of Archipelago.
3.5. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I think, we found a process that works for us, which is let's get these out of the way and see what they might entail, and then we'll come back with the general resolution for the consent items. So, Councillor Richardson, let's start with you and item 3.11.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. I would just like to make mention that we had received correspondence regarding George McDonnell, who was a former Listowel resident, and he was one of the last 2 World War II veterans who was in Hong Kong that had actually just recently passed away. I have no idea of the process for this, but possible for staff and council's blessing is to possibly ensure that this information has been received by the Legion, and as far as appropriate memorialization or remembrance for this fallen veteran, possibly make sure that he's listed appropriately on our cenotaph, and this would be Legion's discretion, and that they are aware of it, being a former Listowel resident, passed away at the age of 100. So I'd like to thank him for his service and his sacrifice, and I don't know if staff could contact the Legion just to see that they can properly, for one of their own, to memorialize this fallen veteran.
Okay, seems like a reasonable suggestion. Council, looks like I'm getting sort of general nods of consent to this. Could we, I don't know if the clerk or the CAO can quickly look, but is Mr. McDonnell's name on the list of historical names that might be pertinent for the naming of streets and so forth? Can we check on that? Again, I don't know eligibility fully, but it might be worth us investigating that as well. Okay, so what I have then is, I think, a motion from Councillor Richardson suggesting that we direct staff to send along this correspondence to the Listowel Legion for the purposes of ensuring that this history is trapped and that, inviting them to take appropriate actions. Does that seem right? Okay. I'll consider you the mover of this. Councillor Rothwell intends to second this one. All right. Any discussion or debate on this? All right. Putting the stress on the clerk table as always. Are we ready for this? All right, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you for drawing that more fully to our attention, Councillor Richardson. Let's turn next to Councillor Duncan, item 3.5, please.
Thank you. I'd just like to see council support this correspondence from Township of Archipelago. We have Phragmites showing up regularly in Perth County here as well, and it's a very invasive plant, and I think it's important that the MTO definitely maps out where it's at and what their plan is to control it, to keep it to spreading to all of our road allowances. So if we could support this and copy our resolution to the MECP, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, and also the Minister of Environment, Climate Change Canada, as well as our MP and our MPP.
Okay, thank you. Let me just, it seems like a solid resolution. Let me just turn to the clerk. Any others that we should be considering distributing a resolution to before we consider this?
Mr. Mayor, I'll just take a look at who was copied on the original resolution. It sounds like those are the appropriate parties to copy here.
Okay, perhaps AMO? Would AMO be
Yeah,
useful?
I think we could add AMO to the list too.
Yeah, okay. All right, so we have a resolution from Councillor Duncan that this council supports the letter that was received from us and the action proposed under item 3.5, and that we copy the various ministries, both federal and provincial, and our local MP and MPP and AMO. So I'm going to consider you moving that. Okay, Mark, thank you. Councillor Nordum is our seconder. Any discussion or debate? All right, seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is unanimously carried. Thank you, Councillor Duncan, for drawing our attention to that one. And now let's turn to the usual resolution related to the consent agenda as follows. The consent items 3.1 to 3.11 be received for information, and the minutes of the April 24th, 2023 regular council meeting and the April 5th, 2023 budget meeting be adopted. Can I call for a mover in this? Thank you. Deputy Mayor Callum will be our mover, and seconder will be Councillor Richardson. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. All right, we can move forward then. At this time, we are at agenda item number 4. We have no public meetings for this evening's meeting. Further, we have no delegations that have asked for an audience with council this evening. That means we can turn to item 5 on our agenda, which are reports from departments and key staff. We have no reports from the CAO's department tonight as item 5.1. Further, no reports have been submitted for consideration from the Strategic Initiatives Group as item 5.2. This means we can come to item 5.3. We have 2 items, big items, from the Corporate Services Department. They are bringing forward our 2023 budget and related actions for 2024. In item 5.3.1, staff has reminded us that we need to appoint chair and vice chair of the 2024 Budget Committee of Council. I'm going to call on Deputy Treasurer Becky Belfour to provide a brief overview. Welcome, Ms. Belfour. Let me get your microphone and get the camera settings right here.
Thank you, Mayor Kiesenberg, Council. Oops, sorry. Thank you, Mayor Kiesenberg, Council. So before you is a report for the 2024 Budget Committee. With a motion for approval of the 2023 budget in place, it's a good time to start and set our sights towards the 2024 budget. The annual budget process typically starts with July discussions of the public survey questions and dates. Now that the new budget software is in place, staff can start budget process sooner. The recommendation for the 2024 budget chair and co-chair will allow the committee to review and make appropriate changes to budget policy and presentation dates. As well, the budget survey can be circulated to the public earlier for sufficient budget presentation dates. So this will just ensure that we can start sooner with the survey going out maybe earlier in the summer, and then have those results back and start a visioning meeting in September, and be well prepared for budget presentations in the early part of the fall. So the budget package will be presented electronically, similar to 2023, with council and public review. We'll plan on starting the visioning session and manager's presentation in early fall. With this proposal, we'll also be able to determine with senior staff whether we're going to move to a 3-year budget, operating budget, and then a 5 or a 10-year capital budget. So just will help be more prepared and get to you sooner with the budget presentations.
Thank you, Ms. Belfour, for the report. Colleagues, first, before we get into the arm wrestling, any questions or first comments on this matter? I think all of us have an aspiration to see the budget process pulled forward in this coming year so that we hit the ground a little earlier in 2024. Okay, so obviously we have a little bit of business to do with regards to this matter. It has become the tradition that the 2023 vice chair, that the current year vice chair becomes the chair. Councillor Anstead, that puts you on the spot. Are you willing to serve in that capacity?
Yes, through your Mayor Kasenberg, I'd be willing to serve in that capacity.
Thank you. So let's now turn to the issue of having a deputy or a vice chair. Councillor Rothwell, you have your hand up.
Councillor Nordum be considered for vice chair of the budget committee.
Okay, thank you. Would you consider that service?
I would.
Okay, sorry, various microphones are defying me tonight, apparently. I have to be fast on the draw. Anyone else willing to serve in that capacity? Councillor Richardson?
I'd let my name stand.
All right, so Councillor Richardson would let his name stand as well. How would council like to proceed? Would you like to consider these options and have a vote? Is that the appropriate thing to do at this point in time, or?
Do a vote for each. I would suggest doing them as separate resolutions. So someone moves Councillor Nordum's appointment and someone seconds it, and then if that resolution fails, then we would move a second resolution appointing Councillor Richardson.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Do either of you wish to withdraw? Maybe that's the right question at this point before we consider having an election for this. Go ahead. I think I got it on. No, I don't. Okay, try again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just put my name forward that it's been a while since I've done it. However, if Councillor Nordum would be interested in doing so, then I would be more than willing to offer my tutelage and experience through the budget process to be able to do that. But I'd be certainly willing to withdraw my name especially for a vice chair of a budget. It's a very important position that we don't necessarily need an election for that I would think that would be that if Mr. Nordum has volunteered to do so, that'd be happy to relinquish.
Okay. Yeah. Still game? Okay, so I think we have this figured out then. Thanks, Councillor Richardson. So the resolution then will read as follows: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth appoints Neil Anstead to be the chair of the 2024 Budget Committee, and that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth appoints Mark Nordum to be the vice chair of the 2024 Budget Committee. Can I call for a mover on this? Councillor Rothwell, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Blazek. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Congratulations, condolences, whichever you'd like to accept. We're good with that.
Oh boy.
You know. All right. Ms. Belfour remains in place because the high point of the year, of course, is considering for final approval our budget. In item 5.3.2, Council is called upon to consider passing the 2023 budget for the corporation. And Ms. Belfour, welcome. Give us the final story here that we need tonight for our considerations. And let me shut off a whole bunch of microphones here. Okay, you're on.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. Once again, thank you, Neil and Mark. I look forward to working with you, and I'll be contacting you very soon. So with regard to the 2023 budget approval, the process started January 11th with the budget visioning meeting. Visioning gave great direction for staff of the operating and capital budgets items to be addressed. The public survey was also sent out, and points were presented and incorporated into the budget for 2023. During the next two budget meetings, staff presented their operating and capital as well for the 2023 year, the business plans, which I think worked well together, and we'll probably continue that process as well. On April 5th, Chair Andreessen presented a great proposal for the budget, 2023 budget to Council, and approval was given to move forward for public consultation. Neil and Councillor Anstead, Councillor Andreessen did a great job on the virtual presentation April 17th to the 24th. We only had two responses to the public consultation. One was just an inquiry about approximately how much their taxes would be for 2023. And the second was a request for more funding for future listable award on road repairs and issues for increased traffic. And this was forwarded to the operations department. So the 2023 budget is financial guide pertaining to the 2023 revenue and expenses for all services for the municipality. And so the motion reads our presentation for 2023, and with Council's blessing, we will hopefully pass the 2023 budget.
All right. Thanks, Ms. Belfour. Councillors, questions, further comments to the process? Anyone have anything at this point? Councillor Andreessen?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Kasenberg. I just have a question around the overcapacity hours in our business plans, which is in our current agenda, and I'm not sure if when it's appropriate to ask the question, so I can certainly defer this till later, or if you want to, deal with that now, it's fine.
I think perhaps another resolution that suggests action around this might be appropriate in the aftermath of
Sure.
addressing this, but I'm open to other interpretation of how we should proceed. Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so if you don't mind, we'll put that next, and we can consider whether there's some direction to staff that we want to give with regards to that. Any other questions or first comments on this matter? Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Todd and Councillor, and thanks, Becky, for the report, and thanks again to staff for all the work that was done. And again, just to recap, this was very difficult for you and the Budget Committee and staff to go through because of the changeover of our financial systems. And that's no small chore in terms of bringing all the accounts into an updated form. The cost of that in terms of time was substantial in terms of, and perhaps some frustration, in terms of dealing with bringing all the matters up to date in terms of our different accounts and moving us in a better position coming forward. And I appreciate that work takes time and so on. But here it is, it's May 1st, and we're hopefully adopting the budget here this evening. So looking forward to the next year, as you said, hopefully by starting as early as possible and having the groundwork done, is that we'll be looking at an earlier consideration of the budget next year. It is problematic when we've got, basically a quarter of the year's already done before we've got our budget in place. But I mean, our budget pre-approvals have been able to address that, but hopefully next year we'll be in earlier time, so that time still will be into the new 2024 year. However, hopefully not as much time will have elapsed. So I know and I appreciate staff and the Budget Committee did work hard on that. It's just the time it takes, and I think we can all understand and appreciate that. But just so the public knows, is that this wasn't due to lack of care and attention. It's strictly based on not a one-time ever, but the first time in a long time in terms of transfer through to a new financial system. So thanks to you and the staff for that. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Rothwell. Anyone else with comments or questions at this point? Okay, I have a resolution then for our consideration as follows. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the 2023 budget as presented by Councillor Leanne Andreessen, Budget Chair, on April 5th, with a general tax levy of $18,184,173 for municipal-owned purposes, and a stormwater management levy of $275,000 for this purpose. And that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the 2023 business plans in conjunction with the 2023 budget. Councillor Andreessen, I'm going to assume that this is your call. You're going to be our mover on this one. Councillor Anstead, I saw your hand there, and that makes sense to me. So we have a resolution on the floor for the adoption of the budget. Any final discussion, debate, questions? Have your say. All right, I will offer deep appreciation, of course, to staff and to Councillor Andreessen and Councillor Anstead for their service, some of it through somewhat trying circumstances for Councillor Anstead at times with his ankle break. But we're glad that we're getting to that point here where we can now fully consider this. Colleagues, let's have that vote. And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Belfour, to the staff. I want to make a special note to the staff tonight as well. In particular, I want to note that Ms. Hale is in attendance with us in the gallery. And Ms. Hale, you've been at this for many years, sort of supervising and keeping your eye on things for us. And we're very grateful and acknowledge the many years of service that you've given in seeing our budgets come forward and through council, pain included. So thank you so much for your service on this. And I think appreciation in the usual manner for the staff and for Ms. Hale is appropriate. Thank you so much. All right. There's a great relief. I do this, and I'm pretty sure Doug does this too. We just sort of wiping our foreheads and saying, "Woof, that's done. That's good." I think, again, congratulations to all of us for really an exceptional budget this year, I think. And when we consider the circumstances in our regional neighborhood, we've done quite well. All right, we have no reports from the remaining 5 departments this evening, which allows us to move forward to item 6 on our agenda. For item 6.1, councillors, are there any reports that you would like to request of staff or of our committees? Councillor Andreessen.
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor Kasenberg. Perhaps would this be a good time to address my questions, perhaps? Okay, thank you very much. I think I'm going to direct this to CEO Snell, if that's okay. Just in reviewing our business plans that were in our agenda package this round, I noticed that I did a rough calculation of like 16,000 hours of overtime that's required to, fulfill the business plans. And I'm just wondering if we're going to be able to fulfill what we want to do in the budget given a lack of staff, or I know that some staff are being added through the budget, so I know that, but will that be enough to counteract the overtime or the overcapacity that we're going to be at? So I'm not sure if you want to address that now, but it could be a report later. Thank you.
Okay. CEO Snell, I think I know where this might go. Did you want to make some initial comments and then we can go further?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Andreessen. Obviously, there are some additional staff being added through the budget process, and that will help. Ultimately, it will be difficult for us to achieve everything in the business plans as well as everything in the budget, considering current capacity, and that's why we do the business plans. Also, too, the business plans don't take into account any special projects come up or surprises that come up through the 2023 year, and we will report that to council as it happens. But certainly, we can look at bringing back a staff report to outline where our shortfalls will be in the business plan process.
Yes, thank you. I think that it would be wise to, review that, given the ambitious budget that we have in place and the hope that, the investment that we're making through the budget can be fulfilled through our staff, and whether that's something we need to relook at in the months ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so I think what I'm gathering is that CAO Snell would appreciate direction from council, if that's council's will, to return a report on the subject of the staff capacity against the business plans for the 2023 business year. Does that seem like a reasonable strategy? Clerk Klein, you okay with generally what I said? You trapped that resolution? And Deputy Clerk Carter is nodding her head too. That's helpful. All right. So you're prepared to move? Thank you. And let's call for a seconder. Councillor Blazek will second this. Thank you. Any discussion or debate about this? So just let's be clear. We're considering a resolution that asks staff to bring a report that highlights the gap that's remaining in the aftermath of the business plans and how, if we will address those gaps. All right, everyone good with where we're going with this? All right, let's have that vote. Whoa. I'm the lone remaining vote. E-Scribe booted me out in a spectacular fashion. So I'm in favor. And with that, that counts 10 votes. So that means this motion is carried. Give me a moment here just to log back into E-Scribe. Okay, thank you. I'm back into eScribe. All right. Any other items for item 6 on our agenda? Request of reports. Not seeing any. At this time, then, we're going to move to item 7 on our agenda. This pertains to correspondence received that warrants our review and/or action. As item 7.1, we have received a request from staff in our programs department pertaining to proposed logistics for the annual Teddy Bear Family Play Day to be held on Saturday, June 7th in Listowel in the environs of the Listowel Memorial Park. Council is invited to approve the request for relevant road closures, and I believe I have the resolution here to that effect as follows. That the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the request from the North Perth Programs Department to close Royal Street from Elizabeth Street to Davidson Avenue and Derry Street to Maitland Avenue North from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. on Saturday, June 17th, 2023 for the annual Teddy Bear Family Play Day event, and that North Perth Fire, Public Works, OPP, and Perth County EMS will be advised of the event. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Johnston, thank you. And Councillor Anstead will be our seconder. Any discussion or debate on this? Councillor Blazek.
I just have one small concern. With the construction on Elm from Elizabeth to Main Street, if you are closing Derry Street and
You have Royal and
Royal, thank you. You're leaving any residents who live on Elm Avenue North with only that one exit of Palace around Maitland, which goes past the curling club. And during that time, that gets super congested with parking. And so I'm wondering if we could have a quick fix of the municipality putting in no parking signs along that road, because otherwise you're leaving people with no exit.
Right, gotcha. I'm trying to visually imagine, but I think I got what.
I had to pull up a map in front of me.
Okay, that's a good comment. We don't have someone from programs on tonight, do we?
On Teams, I'm not sure if she is available to comment.
Okay, maybe I'll turn to CEO Snell. CEO Snell, you sort of understand where Councillor Blazek's going with this one. Did you want to offer comment and see whether we can remedy this for the sake of flow from the upper part of Elm?
Certainly, I can work with Public Works, but I don't know the construction schedule for Elm, if we'll be into the reconstruction of Elm Street by June 17th or what that may look like. But we'll ensure that there's enough traffic flow for the residents of Elm to get to their neighborhood without a lot of congestion. If Elm Street is not passable, we'll do the no parking signs for the June 17th.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Does it feel comfortable? We understand what staff's intent is, that we don't need to amend the resolution per se. Okay. Did I get to a mover and seconder? I think so, eh? All right. So any discussion or debate further? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that's carried, and thank you, good catch. And then let's turn to item 7.2. We have received requests from the North Perth Community of Character pertaining to proposed logistics for their annual character run to be held Saturday, May 25th in Listowel. Council is invited to approve the request for relevant road closures and provide advice to some community entities as well. As follows, this is the resolution: that the Council of the Municipality of North Perth approves the request from the North Perth Community of Character to close Binning Street West from the entrance of the Steve Kerr Memorial Complex to Road 165, as well as Road 165 from Perth Line 86 to Line 87, from 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. on Thursday, May 25th, 2023 for the 12th annual Character Run, and that North Perth Fire, Public Works, OPP, and Perth County EMS be advised of the event. Can I call for a mover? Councillor Nordham, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Johnston, thank you. Any discussion or debate on this?
In the letter it says Thursday, May 25th, and you read Saturday, May 25th.
Did I say that? It says Thursday on my resolution too.
Okay.
That might be an oops.
Just want to make sure we got the right day of the week.
Good catch. We're having good catches tonight. All right. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Let's turn now to the consideration of bylaws that have been recommended to us for action. For item 8.1, we have a bylaw that will repeal something we recently did. In this case, related to a supplementary dwelling agreement. The proponents who approached council have indicated that this is no longer needed. Thus, we have a bylaw for repeal, and the enabling resolution is as follows: that bylaw number 47-2023, being a bylaw to repeal bylaw number 39-2023, be introduced, read, and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Can I call for a mover on this one? Councillor Duncan, thank you. Councillor Rothwell is our seconder. Any discussion or debate on this action? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried, meaning that our earlier bylaw will be repealed. That brings us to item 9 on our agenda. Are there any councillors wishing leave to give notice of motion this evening? Not seeing any indication of that, so that brings us to item 10. For item 10.1, are there any announcements that would be of benefit to our community or that reflect well on North Perth at this time? And if we have any connected by web conference, they're certainly invited to raise their hand for this purpose as well. Anyone have an announcement to make? Okay, I'm not seeing any. That brings us to item 11 on our agenda. We have 3 matters to be considered in a closed session meeting of council. I will now read the resolution that explains and enables our action to enter closed session with perhaps a little help from the clerk. All right, so we have a resolution that reads as follows, that council proceeds in camera at 7:52 p.m. to address matter pertaining to the following. Item 1, council education and training session regarding council composition and ward boundary review. Second, a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board regarding property described as Concession 1, Part Lot 23, Municipality of North Perth. And here's where the clerk gets to help me. What's our third one?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the third item would be personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees regarding North Perth staff.
Thank you. So we have 3 items that are our justification for closed session meeting. Everyone understand that part? Can I call for a mover? Councillor Duncan, thank you, and Councillor Anstett will be our seconder. Any discussion or debate on this matter? Seeing none, let's have that vote. And that is carried. Thank you. All right. What that means is I'm going to bang the gavel, indicate that we are moving into closed session. Those who have been asked to leave at this point should exit the chamber. We will close the doors. We will change the audiovisual system. We are going to deal with first the training matter, and then after that, the other 2 matters for council. And let me just make the adjustments to the AV and we'll be ready to go. Is anyone else to remain for the first training part? Yeah, okay, that's fine. All right, let me just make adjustments. So this is a test to determine whether the microphone system has been effectively turned off? Okay, thank you. All right, colleagues, then let's call this closed session meeting to order. Tonight we have with us our 2 guests from Watson and Associates, and their names are, I can see them on the screen, Dr. Robert Williams, Bob, we've talked before, and Mr. Amendolia, who has been, I think, before this council before as well. So welcome back, gentlemen. Nice to have you breathe the same air that we're breathing. And was bleeding through. I think it should be red then.
Yeah.
Okay. We're testing to see if audio is restored to our YouTube feed. Okay. We are returning from our closed session. At this time, I can indicate that Council did discuss the matters identified in our enabling resolution for a closed session meeting of Council and did give staff direction pertaining to the matters, the essence of which will remain confidential at this time for the reasons that were stipulated in our enablement resolution to enter closed session. Council, as a mandated good practice, acts near the end of its meeting agenda to confirm all of its actions and the business of its meeting through what is called the confirmatory bylaw. Moving to agenda item number 13.1, I have a draft of an enablement resolution to that end as follows. Bylaw number 46-2023 being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth be introduced, read and considered read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, and said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Richardson has moved. Councillor Andreessen is our seconder for this. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, let's have that vote. We're missing one. Okay, Councillor Rothwell votes in favor. That completes the vote, and that motion is carried. Thank you. Councillors, we've completed the deliberation and taken action on the business that did come before us tonight. It is thus appropriate for us to consider adjournment. I have a motion to that effect as follows: that the council meeting adjourns at 9:53 p.m. to meet again for general council business on Monday, May 8th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Moved by Deputy Mayor Kellum. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Noordam. Let's have that vote. It's not debatable. And we have all 10 votes in. That motion is carried. Our next regular council meeting is Monday, May 8th. Until that date, this council is adjourned.